All right, so today we're going to start looking at lists in Python. A list is just like any other kind of variable. The only difference is it can hold multiple values of things. Let's just take a quick look at how that looks like on CodeSculptor. So I'm on codesculptor.org. It's a nice way to do some programming without having to have the compiler or anything, installed on your computer. You can just do it right in a web browser. So to make a list, you simply just make a name. So I'm going to call my variable my list, and then you can give it some numbers or whatever you want in the list. So I'm going to use this little square bracket here. You'll see it right above your enter key. And I'm going to do 1, 1, 3, 5. Oh, wait, how does Fibonacci go? Whatever. 8, 13. I think that's it. I think I messed it up somewhere. So this, I've declared a list, and what you can do then is you can just print out the whole thing. So I can just say print my list, and what this will do is, let me zoom out a tad. What this will do is when I run it, it will literally just print everything that's on the list. Now don't forget, if I print my list in quotes, it's going to just print out the word my list because I put it in quotes. When I print without the quotes, it'll get the value that is in my list, which is this list of numbers. It'll run, and it will print out the entire list. So this is holding on to all of these different numbers. We'll get to why that's going to be important in uses of it in a couple lessons, but for now I just want to start with some of the basic functionalities of a list. So we've seen how to declare a list, we've seen how to print out the whole thing. We're going to look at just one or two little things over here. So let's come over here. So we have my mouse. We currently have my list, and it is holding on to the numbers 1, 1, 3, 5, 8, and 13. This is absolutely not the Fibonacci numbers, but it's whatever, just a random set of numbers that I came up with. The way that a list works is it's holding on to each of these in slightly different parts of memory, kind of next to each other. We're not going to go into too much detail, but what you do need to know is that the first number in the list, we actually start our indexing, which is what you call how you get what position in the list I'm in. We start our indexing with 0. So we say that the first item in any list is the 0th item, and the next one we go to index 1, then index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5, and so on, though this list ends at 5. If you count the number of items in the list, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items in the list, but because we start with item 0, that means that the last item, even though there are 6 items in the list, it's at index 5. It's kind of nice. It makes some programming easier, and in general, a lot of programming languages do start counting at 0 instead of starting at 1 as our first. And what that means is if I wanted to print out a value from this list but not the entire thing, I can just say my list, and then in a square bracket next to it, I'll choose an index. Maybe I wanted to print out the number 8. So then I would need to say at index 4, and this would be referencing this 4th index, which has the value 8 in it. So let's see how that actually works on CodeSculptor. So over here, instead of simply printing out the entire list, what I'm going to do is try printing out my list at index 4, and you'll see what this is going to do is when I print out my list at the 4th index, is it will print the value 8 out. And that's exactly what it did. Now I could go ahead and print something else, right? I could print my list at 0 and just take a moment to guess what you think that's going to print out. We'll play right now. Well, the 0th item is always the very first item in your list. It had the value 1, so it printed out 1. You can also do work using this indexing, right? You can change the values over here. So for example, I could say my list at 0, at 0 is equal to, I don't know, 17. Now, if I print my list at 0 again, the value over here, we just switch it to 17. So on this final output line over here, it's going to end up saying 17 because that 1 got switched out. So let's try running it. And you can see that I first printed out my list at 0, right? Which was a value of 1. Then I changed my list at 0 to 17. So when I print it out again, it goes to 17. Play around with this a little bit. Take a couple minutes to play around in Code Sculptor. We got another video coming out real soon, which is going to give you some more information about how to use lists and play around with them in Python.